Over to the Sydney Morning Herald, and obviously it is all about what's happening in Macquarie Street tomorrow. Push for the top job with a lovely photograph of Dominic Perrottet with two of his little daughters, Harriet and Beatrice, there, and then Rob Stokes pulling a Tony Abbott in his life-saving. Yeah, indeed. I guess it's all over when it comes to, I guess, the leadership, but all eyes are on the West One heirs nod over Kean. Moderate power broker Matt Kean has had the first part of the puzzle solved early by Friday night. The long-time confidant of Gladys has locked in at least a dozen factional colleagues to support his choice to replace her. Kean, who has cemented his progressive credentials through building a reputation as a climate warrior, has convinced a solid block of fellow moderates that right-wing Treasurer Dominic Perrottet was the Liberals' best bet to win the 2023 election. So Kean would be deputy and treasurer. Do you think that would be a nice yin and yang?
Maybe. I think it's probably smart that Kean doesn't join the leadership, though, in terms of he's the member for Hornsby, and there's a lot of North Shore then in that New South Wales leadership team, so you need to separate it. Look, it could be a funny twist, couldn't it, for the Liberal government in New South Wales, that you remove the leadership, while Gladys has had the courage of her convictions. There's still a lot of distrust within the community, a lot of anger about this, prolonged lockdown, fresh start, new beginning, borders opening up, restrictions easing. It could be the little boost internally that the government needs, but rocky roads ahead.
Especially with a looming federal and then state election in 2023. It's going to be a bumpy ride ahead. Another story which is exclusive by Europe correspondent Bevan Shields, which is a splash on The Age as well. President of Climate Talks wants nation to double its carbon cuts. The minister in charge of next month's Glasgow Climate Summit has challenged Australia to nearly double its 2030 emissions reduction target and urged Prime Minister Scott Morrison to attend in person. Do you think that this story is going to get the legs that it deserves tomorrow, or all eyes, do you think, will be on politics, domestic politics tomorrow?
All eyes on domestic politics. The only way that could maybe get a few more legs was if there was going to be a decision tomorrow that the Prime Minister is definitely going, because he only has to do 7 days of quarantine. I reckon that's going to be his biggest reluctance at the moment, not just about not appearing at this particular conference, Jenna, but the fact that if he goes overseas again, he's effectively out of action for 14 days when he comes back. I know we're moving as a country, or some states, not ours, sooner rather than later, those 7 days.
Yeah.
But that's where I reckon there's a little bit of reluctance, and probably politically, it's an internal bomb set to go off, obviously still within the coalition government, isn't it, if he goes or not?
All fun times, that's for sure. Over to The Australian now, a great strap tomorrow, a great piece about Elise Perry, obviously the Facebook whistleblower, and a great Inside the Canberra Bubble with Struth with Alice Workman. But I guess it's all about Perrottet tomorrow. Interesting how you were speaking before about optics and women problem within the New South Wales government. There's been a lot of conjecture for the past couple of days around, I guess, his faith and how people are painting him as, the Catholic with 6 kids. Do you think do you think this is a bubble issue, or do you think people outside the realm care that we're getting our knickers in a twist in the media over his labels?
I think it's a bit of a bubble issue, but it's certainly used for mileage, isn't it? And you see the way the Ferrells like to react online in particular to the fact that he's a Catholic with 6 kids and he's 39 years of age. Who cares?
Yeah.
Why should that stop man or woman deciding to run for Premier of New South Wales?
Yeah.
Why does that even need to come into it? Apart from the fact he's a family man, who really cares about his faith?
I think the thing is, and I was sort of having a tit for tat on Twitter last night. I think the interesting thing is because, sure, he's very well known within, the political bubble in New South Wales and probably over, the majority of the country. But people that don't know who he is, 39, Catholic, it kind of just paints a picture. It's like an introduction story.
That's true.
So once we've said that, we can then move on, hopefully.
Yeah, but then again, locally here with the Liberal Party in Western Australia, isn't it, Jenna? There's some crazy Christians that have got their hands on the force or on the broad church, and that the Prime Minister's faith's been questioned, hasn't it? Ever since Scott Morrison rose to even becoming treasurer, it's always been a story. But that's a bit of a sideshow, isn't it? I don't really think that Scott Morrison's brought his faith into his political decision-making. Surely everything that makes him up as a person includes his faith, but you don't see that outwardly from Scott Morrison. I don't know if will we see that from Dominic Perrottet? I don't know. Well,
I think that's the thing with someone like Matt Kean sort of holding the reins of the moderate faction. It could be a good thing, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think this is going to be this generation's, the barren woman argument that we've seen for women in politics that people like Berejiklian have faced for years and years and years.
But it's a funny thing, isn't it, Jenna? I don't know about you, but I don't walk up to someone and go, hey, what's your religion?
Or hey, what's your sexuality?
That's right.
They're just labels that people put on people. And it's totally right. If you can have a beer with someone at the pub, that's all that matters.
Exactly
in
right.
this day and age.